Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about MAME, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Multiple Arcade Machine Emulation, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. Anyways here, one of the big things from MAME this month was the introduction of Hyper Neo Geo 64 sound. And there's a very interesting article up on read-only memo that I would recommend checking out. So the article is titled, After 2 decades of tinkering, MAME finally cracks the Hyper Neo Geo 64. How MAME devs finally got sound working for the 3D arcade system, plus PC Engine laser active support gets fast-tracked. And there's a whole lot of very interesting information in this article. If you're interested in emulator development and all of the steps that emulator devs take and the challenges they encounter and the triumphs they have, this is a pretty good article. And speaking about articles, next up here we're talking about Nintendo and an interesting article up on Nintendo Everything. And this article is titled, Nintendo Seeking $4.5 Million in Damages from Switch Piracy Reddit Mod. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Oatmeal Dome was one of the first people to notice this, and if you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Anyways, Oatmeal Dome tweeted out, Nintendo is requesting that a court award it $4.5 million in damages from a Switch piracy Reddit moderator for operating multiple piracy sites. The person refused to stop after Nintendo asked them to, which led to the lawsuit. And they also did not respond to the lawsuit. Now, there are a couple of things I wanted to point out here. First and foremost, I would argue that this kind of stuff is par for the course for Nintendo. I mean, they've been involved in a number of different lawsuits, and it just seems that Nintendo will continue to be involved in a number of different lawsuits moving forward. However, number 2 here, this is a big one. Nintendo asked the person to stop, and the person refused. Nintendo gave the person a way out of all of this, and I guess them not complying resulted in this problem. Now, I am not defending Nintendo here, and I'm not defending the Reddit moderator. I'm just taking a neutral approach. It does seem that there was a way to avoid all of this that seemed relatively reasonable. I could be wrong about that one, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And speaking about Nintendo, next up we're talking about Nintendo Switch 2 dev kits and the perceived lack of availability surrounding those Switch 2 dev kits. Now, we've talked about that in previous videos. It's been in the media for a long time now. And there's a tweet yesterday and a very interesting response to this tweet. So the tweet was from Brock the Brawl Bar. And they say here, 4 months after launch, Switch 2 dev kits are unavailable for 95% of us indie devs. Thank God for backwards compatibility. So Reese, Kiwi Talks Riley, who's a video game interviewer, says, the reason Nintendo is not providing dev kits is they are trying to lessen the shovelware problem Switch 1 has. They would rather indie devs just use Switch 1 dev kits in most cases. They don't want the Switch 2 eShop overrun with shovelware slop, and it is also to ensure the big third parties get seen more on the eShop and don't get buried by shovelware. Furthermore, he goes on to say here, 2026 is the year of big third parties on Switch 2, and Nintendo wants to ensure they succeed as it creates a positive feedback loop for Nintendo. So expect the dev kit issue to continue for a good while. This is a deliberate tactic by Nintendo. Now, unfortunately here, I don't know if this is opinion or fact. Based on the way Reese writes it, it does seem like fact. Like Reese somehow has some inside information, possibly from someone at Nintendo. And inside information that Nintendo has not shared publicly and not shared publicly with people requesting a Switch 2 dev kit. So it's a very interesting statement overall. I mean, we have talked about this one in the past, and this is where I'm kind of leaning towards Riley's statement being an opinion or an educated guess as opposed to something rooted in fact. I've asked Riley for a source, haven't heard back just yet. Maybe I will in the future, who knows. But we've talked about this one in the past, even with some AAA studios being excluded from distribution despite their interest in supporting the system. We'll have to wait and see if Reese has some sort of inside information or if they're just speculating or what exactly is going on there, because at this point in time it does not seem as if anyone really knows Nintendo's Switch 2 dev kit strategy. and a lot of people still seem to be very confused by it. And speaking about stuff on Twitter, next up we're talking about TeknoParrot. And TeknoParrot had a pretty big announcement. They say, huge TeknoParrot update. We're excited to announce support for some of the most anticipated arcade titles ever. Now playable on TeknoParrot includes Tekken 6, Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, all System 357 Taiko no Tatsujin titles, and Time Crisis, one of the most anticipated emulated games in history. And speaking about announcements, next up we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation on Android with ARMSX2. And this is a very interesting announcement over on their Discord. So they say here that Stern, one of their developers, will be leaving ARMSX2 development, and that Little Prince will continue to handle development of ARMSX2. And they're still on track to release this month, and Google Play testing is currently underway. And Stern will continue to work on a separate iOS macOS port in the future. So based on my understanding here, based on the announcement, there seems as if there may be 2 new PlayStation 2 emulators in development for macOS and iOS. One being developed by Stern, which I'm assuming is not going to be under the ARMSX2 umbrella. And then one being developed by Moon for macOS and I think maybe iOS under the ARMSX2 umbrella. Now I could be wrong with that one, but it does seem it's still full steam ahead for ARMSX2. We'll have to wait and see what happens moving forward. And speaking about waiting and seeing what happens moving forward, next up here we're talking about Microsoft and Xbox, and it does seem that Xbox hardware has a path moving forward. Now we've talked about this one in previous videos. In fact, in my last video we talked about this statement here, which I'm again wondering, is this an opinion or is this a statement based on fact? But anyways, the latest rumor was that Microsoft had stopped production on Xbox consoles. And it turns out that no, they haven't, or at least they're still working on next-gen consoles. But who knows here? Maybe they have stopped production on current consoles and are focused on future one. I don't know. That wouldn't make any sense to me, but who knows? Anyways, this was apparently Microsoft's statement. We are actively investing in our future first-party consoles and devices designed, engineered, and built by Xbox. So there you have it. And speaking about rumors, on a side note here, it appears that the latest rumor from Microsoft canceling or putting their handheld on hold in favor of the Asus Xbox ROG Ally and Ally X is that I guess AMD required a minimum of 10 million units in a contract to be sold by Xbox. Now, if this is true, if AMD was requiring Xbox to sell at least 10 million handheld units for that exclusivity on the SoC, that would make sense as to why Microsoft stepped away. I mean, maybe they didn't think they could sell 10 million handhelds. Again, though, it is worth noting this is currently a rumor. I haven't seen anything confirmed yet, although this does seem feasible. At the same time, there's a huge chance it's not real. And continuing to talk about Xbox and canceled stuff, next up we're talking about Uncharted Rival, Project Ranger that was canceled. Did You Know Gaming has a brand new video that I would recommend checking out. It is super interesting. The video itself is 48 minutes long, actually just over that, 48 minutes and 28 seconds to be specific. And you can kind of think about this Project Ranger as Uncharted with spies. And I mean, even the comment section here is super interesting. This person, the answer whenever it's, did Xbox executive lie about XYZ, is always yes. This one here, what a mess. It's almost as if they didn't want to make this game. All they wanted was to compete with PlayStation. Phil Spencer lying. I'm going to have to lie down for this one. The timing is just perfect. So it was literally siphon filter. But moving on from that, from something canceled to something that has released and right now is 100% free, and that is Nightingale. It's up on the Epic Game Store. It's 100% off. Taking a look here, I have heard mixed reviews about this one, but I mean, when it's free, I don't think people can really complain too much. Or maybe they can anyway. If you've played this game, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. Currently, it's got a 3.9 star rating. And speaking about stuff with a $0 price tag, next up here, we're talking about SHC 2025, which stands for something I can't quite put my finger on, and also stands for Sonic Hacking Contest 2025. There's a brand new trailer for this one that I would recommend checking out. And taking a look at the website, and it seems it's off to a very strong start with 75 entries available to be viewed. There is a lot of stuff in there, including some super interesting stuff like Sonic CD Respin, which is a open source version of Sonic the Hedgehog CD based on PC and PS2 ports decompilation. And speaking about contests and awards and winners and all of that stuff, last up here we're talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. And it seems we may have Grand Theft Auto 6 winning awards before it even releases. We've got GTA 6 winning awards before GTA 6. Anyways, here it's being reported that Grand Theft Auto 6 has already been nominated for 2 Golden Joystick Awards that it can't possibly lose. So one of the awards GTA 6 is currently up for is Best Game Trailer. And let me know your thoughts about GTA 6 beating stuff like Battlefield 6 or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or the other ones. Potentially beating them. Now, the second award that GTA 6 has been nominated for has a few more entries, and that's for Most Wanted Game. And it's up against some pretty heavy hitters like Kingdom Hearts 4, Marvel's Wolverine, Hell Let Loose Vietnam, Onimusha, Subnautica 2, 007 First Light, The Witcher 4, Resident Evil Requiem, and even more. And let me know if you think it's going to win this one. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.